Hello, I'm Dr. Newberry. I'm going to be going over the process of constructing a medical term, starting off first with its definition. So we saw in the previous section here that when you make the final definition of a medical term, the order goes suffix, prefix, and then the root or the combining form. So if we're starting off with already having the definition, we should think of trying to build our medical term, or rather find the word parts in that same order. So if I look at the medical definition here, I know that the beginning part has to do with the suffix, and then the rest of it will have to do with the root or combining form, or potentially prefix. So if I start off here with this definition, surgical removal of the gallbladder, I can see that the first part of the definition is surgical removal. So if I start there, okay, I'll know that this is going to be the suffix of the term, since the suffix, the definitions of the suffixes are always found at the beginning of the medical definition for the full term. So then what I need to do is find a suffix that means surgical removal. So what I'll do is I'll go to my terminology list and I'll search for surgery and see if I can find a suffix that means surgical removal. Sure enough, there is one. So ectomy. So I'm going to take ectomy, come back here, and then know my suffix has to be ectomy, and that's surgical removal. Okay, the next thing is I'm going to see if I can find a root or a combining form. That is going to mean gallbladder. Okay, through the same process, I'll come over here to my list. I'm going to look up gallbladder, see if I can find that. Yep, and there we go. So cholecysto. So I'll take that, come back to my document here. All right. So now I have my combining form or my root. Okay, now to build the actual medical term, I have to determine if I need to use the root or the combining form. So I'll know that at least the first part will be cholecysto or cyst. Then I take a look and I see that there's the combining vowel O, but the next part of this term would be ectomy. So since ectomy begins with an E, then I know I don't need my combining vowel. So what I'm going to do is I'll just remove my combining form from here, and then just know I'm just going to have my root cholecyst. So cholecyst, then I'll add my suffix to it. Okay. So cholecystectomy. So if I look at cholecystectomy and I look back at the root and the suffix, I've got surgical removal and I've got gallbladder. If I come back to the original definition, surgical removal of the gallbladder, that's just my way of double checking that I've included all the word parts that are going to be needed in order to build a term that matches that definition that I was looking to find. So that looks good. All right, let's do another practice one. We'll come down here and we see pertaining to behind the nose. All right, so once again, I'm going to say, okay, what is my suffix? Because I know that that's going to start my medical definition. So I look at the beginning and I see pertaining to. So I'll jump to my terminology list and look up pertaining to. All right, and I see that unfortunately in medical terminology, there is a lot of suffixes that mean pertaining to. So this might be a little bit of a dead end for now, but I'll have to circle back to this. So what else can I find with my definition here? So I've got pertaining to, and then I see the word behind. So behind makes me think that that might be a term or a part of a definition that's giving a quality, a quantity, a location, or a timing. In this case, behind would be a location. And that's a characteristic that we find with prefixes. So my guess is that I'm going to need some sort of prefix in my word breakdown here to give me that definition of behind. So with that, let me jump over to my word list and I'll see if I can find a prefix that means behind. Okay, so if I go through here, let me do a quick search for it. Okay, I see that there's a prefix that means after or behind, which is post, which is great. So I can take that, I'm going to say I have a prefix here. That prefix is post, okay, and that means behind. All right, so now I can get down to my root or my combining form. And I know this one has to mean the nose. And typically we'll see that when you have like a structure or an organ, those are going to be your roots or your combining forms. So let's take a look. So I'm going to jump back to my word list here, see if I can find a root that means nose, and I can. Okay, so naso. So I'll come back to my document and say my root or combining form is naso. I'm not sure which one I'm going to need yet because I haven't figured out my suffix. All right, but at the very least I can start my medical term that's going to mean pertaining to behind the nose because I have my prefix, which is going to be post, and then I'm going to have my, spelling's important, let me correct that, naso, nase, okay, and then I just need a suffix that's going to mean pertaining to. All right, so there's a lot of suffixes that could possibly fit in here. Once again, I'm going to go to my list and look up pertaining to and see if I can find one. All right, so off the bat here in the beginning of the list, I could have IC, so that would be postnasic. I could have AC, so postnasac, or if I come down here, I see AL, which is postnasal. Postnasal sounds the best of those. While the other ones could be correct, the most common usage of the, or most common suffix that's going to be used in this case is going to be AL. Okay, so then that gives me my term postnasal. If I go back and compare it back to my original definition I was trying to build a term for, I see AL, meaning pertaining to. Then I see post, okay, and that aligns with behind. And then I have nase, the root, not the combining form, which means nose. So then all the aspects of the medical definition fit in, and then I confirmed that that is the medical term for this.